hope you've had a cup of coffee. We're on the rather boring super user area, but obviously it jolly well helps evolve your system of being able to make sure that you can evolve the parameters and the screens that your folks can see. So we're going to have a look at drop-down menus, labels, lookups. Now, this part of the course, we used to take a day to give it, so I'm just going to rattle through it, and if you have any specific issues, please come back to me. I rather suspect the situation will be that you'll know what 2 of them are, but you're not quite sure about 3 others. So first of all, drop-down menu admin. Those are basically the kinds of things that you would see. For example, an example would be, for example, exemptions. And of course, drop-down menus, some of them can be multi-valued, so you could pick 3 or 4 exemptions on the exemptions list on an information request, whereas you can only pick 1 status on an information request. And of course, status is another example which we're coming up to in a moment. Lookups admin is where you can add parameters to anything. And Ross, with your permission, I was going to give the example of how we added you and Victoria and Sarah into an IR in order that once you create a lookup, you can use it in reports and various other places. And I think that saved us a big dev bill, which everybody's happy about. Labels are obvious. They're the labels on the fields. So when we sell this system into commerce, we might call what you call an information request, we might call it a case if it's a legal system, or a job, or a ticket if it was IT or whatever. And everybody's familiar with bank holidays admin, so I won't, we've done that in previous courses. So there's all sorts of different examples. We mentioned review owners. I'm going to show you asset parameters, and of course types of organization and various parameters. So, you know, is it a media organization or whatever? So the drop down menu items, I think the important ones are request type, request status, and these, and I'll just show 1 or 2 of those. If I just nip into demo mode now over here, I'm in Demo Shire again. In the admin menu, in drop downs admin here, yes, it's logged me out again. I might need to just log back in. I'm not quite sure why that happens with Firefox so often, but I'm now hopefully logged in. So in drop downs admin, by the way, just to skim through these, you're probably familiar with the other ones here, but document templates admin, that's where you change the documents that you send out to people. In drop downs admin, you've got various things. An information request status is the drop down that you'll be familiar with, which says what the status of the job is. Now that's different to activity status or review and appeal status, and you can find those drop downs in this drop downs admin menu, obviously up here as well. So there are some drop downs, by the way, which are not useful for your system, and some systems have about twice as many of these. I mean, for example, you're not using VAT code admin and things. However, you can see here that some of these are disabled. So in Demo Shire, these non-disabled ones, i.e. the ones with an N in this column, are the ones which will show up when Demo Shire go to a job like this. These are the statuses that will show up. Now, when as an admin you create a status, you need to decide whether it's trackable, which they much all are. And you also need to decide if it's like clarification, or you're quoting somebody for some work because the admin will be more than you think, whether you decide that it's a restarter or whether it's a just a pause one. And obviously there are some which will close it. So all information sent to a requester is a piece of text that will be in Demo Shire's drop-down login somewhere around here. Status logged, all information. So this one here is a closer, closed. That's nice and simple. And closed will be in here somewhere there. Now there could be other things. There could be spam or various others. And the ones that you want to close it, you just basically put a 1 in there, and then that will close the job and it'll stop the clock. Talking of the clock, let's go and have a look at another very important look downs admin, the information request type. Now this is super useful, but it's a bit complicated, and we took a view a few years ago to lock this down to our office because people were changing these willy-nilly and getting all sorts of times and clocks wrong, which we were just unable to fix without days of sometimes of development. So Basically, this is fundamentally very simple, and it's very simple for you to come back to us. Also, during the COVID changes, the Scottish government made some slight changes to the times that you could take to answer an FOI request, and we were able to just change these numbers in here. So if you take something simple like an EIR request, you've got 20 working days, and the reason it's working days is because we're not ticking the box to include bank holidays, which you choose on the bank holiday menu, and we're not including weekends. And so clearly that would go on your public disclosure log. It would also be available on the internal public disclosure log. It's got the EIR flag, something like an let me see, an erasure. Any sort of SAR request obviously would not be on a public disclosure log at all, and it would also have a private tick by it. So you can see there's a lot of different parameters together with the support status, which changed the clock. Another example, when GDPR came in, it was very simple for us, time consuming but simple, to change all these numbers, because of course previously there would have been a DPA request where you had 40 working days. I'm not sure if there's any other interesting drop-down menus. I think information request exemptions might be a good example, and your departments. So if we lose drop-down menus for a moment now and go back to here, I just want to have a look at, you can find departments and all these other things yourself, and just have a look around. Obviously change something, but only if you talk to your colleagues and consult with your colleagues so everybody understands the changes that have been made. I'm going to go to labels because they're really simple and you don't change them very much, but they're just worth having a look at. And I'll just quickly demo them. So if we go back into the admin menu, you won't be surprised to hear that there's a labels admin. There are hundreds of screens and there are hundreds of labels. But if you go to, for example, an information request, which I believe is down as support, unless I'm mistaken, you can see in here that we would change a support call to an information request. And likewise in activities, you might want to call it a task or an activity or whatever. So you can make sure that the vocabulary used by your organization and which is familiar to your team can be put on the system that you're using in the actual field labels. Now I'm going to go on to lookups admin next, because lookups admin is just such an interesting area and it's so useful. A lookup is a parameter, and we haven't used them very much here. If you look at, for example, anybody with a personnel system or other areas that accelerate, automate, or for example on some of the demo DPIA systems that we've created, there are lots and lots of different parameters that you use to describe a data asset or a person. Everything from uniform size to, for a data asset, it can be who's responsible, who checked it last, and all kinds of stuff. What kind of different checks are there? So in here, you've got the list of lookups you're using. So for example, request medium and media available expiry date. I think these were all the different kinds of lookups that we had produced for this local authority before we took a copy of their system, obfuscated and removed all the personal data and used it as our demo system. A really interesting one that I wanted to show you, again, I don't think I'll have a, I'll just do quickly, I'll just skim past organization types quickly. You will find in your drop-downs admin an organizations types area. So you can use that to put different organizations types on. You know, there's a tick box different organizations. So it might be that you want police forces, health, other government organizations. Media is a popular one. And you might want to do reports on what requests come in from different types of organizations. So that will help you to just categorize things. Aside from org types, though, which is a standard thing, I just wanted to look at two examples to illustrate how lookups work. So the first one was we were looking at having a manager for an information request. And to actually do the development, which only one authority wanted, was going to be quite expensive. So we put it on the development plan, but that could be a long way away in the queue because there's all sorts of other exciting things that you're going to see in the super user, things like groups of employee roles and stuff that's coming out, where we've got those ahead in the development plan of this thing. So we wanted a really quick fix. So what we did was we made sure that we could create a lookup, and when you create a lookup, you can put it on an entity, and we put it on the entity job. So on a job down here, you can have what's called a lookups apron down here. We did this this trick a while back for this particular authority, and now I can't remember if anybody actually remembered what MTP was, but or whether we still use it. But we were able to create a lookup so that you can categorize the different information requests apart from all of the other categories and drop downs that you'll know are available in reports. We can categorize those, and we can also categorize it by the information review manager, and that's allowed us to create a dashboard which looks awful in this screenshot, but this dashboard, because I've, again, like the support item, I've obfuscated the private data, but you can see that each of the people that looks after reviews in that local authority can see and filter by who is actually looking after it. So this person can go in here and see the reviews that they're responsible for. Likewise, with less problems of having to obfuscate personal data, you can put loads of parameters on data assets for your data asset information register. And somewhere around, I will have left that baby. I think it's on here as well. Is it here? Yeah. So this is a data asset register for a local authority. If I just maximize it here, and you can see that there are zillions and zillions of parameters that you can add. So if you look at any one of these data assets, you can go into it and you can see tabs full of different lookups that we've created, and the kind of lookups for one asset will be very different to another. And the best way to explain that is there are certain risk assets, there are certain risks associated with assets which contain personal information, which you would not have as risks under GDPR if you were describing lampposts or other street furniture or parks or open spaces or whatever. So in lookups admin in this system here, you can create all sorts of lookups, and you'll have noticed, I don't know if I've still got the screen up, but you'll have noticed when we looked at lookups admin, there was another tab called visible lookups admin. Visible lookups admin, you can decide what actual screens those lookups go onto. So that's lookups admin and two examples of it. If you have any other examples of parameters that you want to add to data, please let me know. Next week, we're going to be doing Report Builder. Now, Report Builder allows you to, you're probably aware that you can obviously put lots and lots of data into systems, and a huge expense that systems accrue after a little while is that you can't get the data out. So we're going to be spending a bit of time next week on Report Builder, and if you need more time, if you think it's like a private thing just to your local authority, then just call up and get an appointment with a consultant to spend half an hour or so running through your report requirement. But if you think it's of general interest, very happy to put on a second Report Builder session, because it's such an interesting area. I'm really looking forward to this because there's lots and lots of features that I can see people not using. So for example, if you have a ticket, you can apply, you'll notice in that ticket drop down menu, I was applying different colors to different tickets. So maybe green to SARS or red to SARS and green to EIR and blue to FOIs or something. And then you can bring those colors up in reports, but you can also color your reports where you can say anything that's more than 3 days to go, have it as blue, but anything that's 3 days to go, that we've got to really get a wiggle on. So we'll send that red, and anything that's late can go something very in your face color. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at the area of user access and granting and revoking rights. And I'm hoping that a feature that we've got on 1 or 2 authorities, I can stick on the DemoSha system to show you how you can group individuals into a role, such as an information request manager. And when you put somebody in that role, it ticks all the boxes so that you know information request managers have all of these things ticked, but Office admin people have those things and super users have those. So you can create roles and decide as a group what those people have. I was also going to go through two-phase commit, two-phase authentication, and what all of those tick boxes in user admin mean for user lookups. So that's next week. In terms of housekeeping, we've started to add our new dashboard building technology to your system. So have a think about how you'd like to use dashboards. As an example of dashboards, this is it's not a very good example, this one here, but you can see that there's all sorts of things that you can do in terms of lists. If you look at, I don't know where my dashboard is at the moment, but yeah, there it is. So these are our very in-your-face colors for what's urgent and what's not. But if I was to go to my home screen, you can see we've got all kinds of views, including charts of who's the most profitable and unprofitable customer. And believe me, there's a lot of those these days. We've got a Kanban chart. So, for example, that job there, I was able to just very easily pop it in for one of my colleagues to have a look at this. That particular job is that one there is this one that I was mentioning, to have a look at getting demo Shire with the group employee admin facility, which I'm hoping to demonstrate to you on the 16th of February. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Please recommend us.